Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am attempting a get ready with me. I decided that this would be a good avenue to talk about certain things instead of making like a whole video about one thing. It can be about like me getting ready to go absolutely nowhere except next door to my neighbor's house and yeah, talking at the same time. I decided that we were going to talk about prenups. And okay, before that, I asked you guys just now before I started filming who should do what makeup look I should do. And Ruby, I'll put her information right here, chose a cut crease for me. It's as if Ruby, she either doesn't know me or she knows me and she just wants to punish me because everybody be knowing that, like, you know, I just don't feel like I'm that great when it comes to the imaginative stuff, but my word is my bond, so I'm going to do it. Oof. Today I'm going to be talking about prenups because the conversation of prenups came up very recently, and I decided to ask people on my Instagram. Well, basically what happened is that I asked people if they would get prenups, and I'm just going to be basically reacting to everybody's responses. Alright, so I literally asked, would you get a prenup? Yes or no? And yeah, let's go through the answers as I do my makeup. First, let me start off with my makeup because for once, I think that it might actually be the questions that delay me, not my makeup. If the first one says, I would so I can get half, but Islamically, even while I'm married, he's not entitled to my wealth, so I know my money is safe. So basically what she's saying is that she would do it if she wasn't Muslim, because Islamically those rights have already been protected. And I actually think that this is one of the many things about Islam that I actually find so admirable and so novel. Okay, first, let's start off with what a prenup is, because I think there are a lot of interesting misconceptions on what a prenup is. So, according to Google, in simple terms, a prenup is an agreement between two people before marrying that establishes rights to property and support in the event of divorce or death. Prenuptial agreements have long been used by couples who want to settle down the terms of any future divorce before they walk down the aisle. So that just in case you didn't even know what a prenup was before clicking on this video, I'm happy that you've gotten the opportunity to know now, so that you can also know if you want one or if you don't. I think the conversation of whether or not to have a prenup is something that is emotionally dangerous. There's no other way for me to put it, but it's emotionally dangerous because it does, in my opinion, to a certain degree, set a strange precedent in the relationship. It kind of lets you know that this person is thinking of how to preserve themselves should things go awry. And I guess when you're like in love and stuff like that, you don't feel like you should really be thinking about that. But on the flip side of things, it is interesting that a lot of people tend to be very, very much in love and know exactly who their partners are until all of a sudden they are not in love and they don't know who their partners are anymore. I would, despite how much I love the guy, I want to help people with my money, so just in case. So now I think the interesting thing is, if you're a Nigerian woman, most especially, or you're a wife, or you're planning to be the wife of a certain type of man or a certain type of person that lives in a society that they kind of exercise, or they have the opportunity to exercise a certain control over you and your belongings, it does make a heap of sense to do that. However, I do feel like depending on where you're married, and also depending on your social status pre-marriage, and on the terms of, I guess, the terms of your marriage, I don't feel like you should even have to worry about that. But then even just thinking about this now and realizing that a lot of people go into marriage without really knowing what it is that are their rights or anything like that, I guess it does make sense that there would even be a question of what you should do or what you can do with your own money. I won't initiate it, but if you want a prenup, I'll sign. Let's all carry our money and be going. Me that I'm a billionaire. This is another way to look at it. In a scenario where you're asked, I want to actually throw that question out. Please fill in the card as it comes up now, because it's going to be coming up as we're making this video. But in a scenario where you are asked to sign a prenup, how do you react? Do you take it as like a fair enough, like, okay, like it's even better for me because like I just don't want you to be in charge of mine? Or do you take it from like a more emotional stance and be like, you know, I just feel like this is you not trusting me? Because I know a lot of people regard things that have to do with finance as a show or a sign of trust as well. So if you are in that line of thought, it automatically means that if somebody should even question what it is that you do with their finances, then for you that is like a display of mistrust or a display of distrust. I would, just because I've seen what family members and friends go through during a divorce. I think this is probably the most prominent response. So I'll just put up one of it. Like, it's more or less the same thing. It's from other people's experiences. And in as much as I am the type of person that doesn't go based on that and always goes based on my case is different, I can completely understand where somebody would be coming from, even having that premise and saying like, man, I don't want to risk it though. I've seen what it's like to be on that side and I just don't want to. I can understand that, man. We all go in to marriage and love and romance with the best expectations of the people that we're with. You feel like you've been with somebody for so long, or even not even with the person for so long, and you know them. But I feel like what we fail to take into account is the fact that so much changes as you embark on this marriage. You guys are now together, like making all your decisions together. There's so much power in marriage on both ends actually, but then there are some powers that are more overt. You know, power does tend to corrupt people. It corrupts people and it corrupts relationships. So sometimes you find people taking advantage of the power that you have willingly given to them. And I think that is why a lot of people in this generation are getting divorced. It's not just because, like, on the one hand, it could be because people are not just willing to try anymore. Like, they're just like, yeah, this thing is not working, that's the end. And a lot of our, like, predecessors would be like, oh no, you know, let's fight for this marriage and stuff like that. But people realize now that they don't really need to fight, or that they don't really want to fight. Either way, people now have the opportunity to leave. Yes, there's still like a stigma attached to leaving a marriage, but at the same time, there's a higher stigma, I feel, attached to, especially in the side of the society that is enlightened, there's a higher stigma attached to staying in an unhappy marriage and doing some stupid shit while you're staying in an unhappy marriage. A lot of us find ourselves in situations where you end up staying in something that you should not have stayed in, and you stay a little too long and you just start acting up and misbehaving when in reality you could have just left. Do you understand? A rebuttal to that is, why should you be planning for something negative to happen? Now, I don't know that this was always my impression, even before this prenup conversation came up that led to me having this conversation online. I don't think that was too far from what I thought. But then at the same time, I do feel like now I'm thinking more in a mindset of like, that's a bit immature to say that just because you're not praying for the worst, you will not secure yourself and secure your whatever it is that you have. You might not even have much, but at least you have something. And once again, I think it's important to note that even though this is an agreement that is signed before marriage, it doesn't just always have to do with the things that everybody had before marriage. It can also determine a lot that happens within the marriage as well. So there are different types of prenups and they go to different extents. So it's always important to keep that in mind. Now, a friend of mine that is a lawyer actually said she will sign a prenup for her children. And she sent me a message later on to explain exactly what that meant. And she's basically saying, peradventure something happens to her, and you know how men are, they will like remarry. Unlike a lot of women that have, for one reason or the other, decided to just stay as widows. A lot of men with children especially remarry, and she doesn't want a situation where her money will not be used for her children and will now go to someone else, if you know what I mean. Like, will go to the new partner, and the new partner will now have some control over like her children. Maybe the person will now be maltreating the children, and the children will have absolutely nothing. So hers is like more of a trust fund situation, would be her type of prenup. So that's also something to consider, is like a trust fund type situation where you guys are like, yeah, this money belongs to the children. Like, peradventure something should happen, automatically it should be transferred directly to them, no questions asked, you know, that kind of thing. That's another way to go about it. A prenup is any agreement you make it to be. It's not as bad as society deems it, and I agree with that. A lot of us look at prenups based on what it is that we see in the movies and what it is that we've understood from the little that we know. And the truth of the matter is that you are really guided by what you know. You are so guided by what you know. And I don't think a lot of people go into relationships and etc with their eyes open and with any knowledge at all. Another person says human beings and disappointment hand in hand. So basically, like, a nigga can just disappoint you at any point in time, and you got to be safe. And I've seen that happen a lot of times, where like you've committed everything and anything to your partner, and all of a sudden something happens, and then maybe they just change, you know, and then your life and your everything else is now in the hands of somebody that you don't even know. Like, this is not the person that you married. When you hear people saying things like, this is not the person I married, it's true. It's possible for somebody to not be the person that you married again. So in that regard, like, I find it completely understandable and borderline expected that, you know, people have some kind of protection. And I guess to a large extent, that is what a prenup is. Marriage is many things. It's a contract, and you don't sign a contract without protection. Things end, and that's not always a bad thing. No one is saying you should expect it to end. I think that love can be real and true, but so is life. Life is real in unexpected ways. Also, signing a prenup doesn't devalue relationships. It's just a smart thing to do. And I wholeheartedly agree with that one, because it just makes absolute sense. Now, the issue with me is that, in as much as I would love to always be on the side of facts, because like numbers don't lie and all that, and facts are facts, like, you can't help but get sentimental about things like this. Like, I'm working under the assumption that my partner right now has asked me to sign a prenup. Will I think that that is an unreasonable request to make? Will I be offended by that? You know, those are the things that I'm thinking about as I'm thinking about these things. Someone says it starts the relationship off on a bad note, I believe. Another person says, I don't think I would. And a third person says, I don't see why not. I'm choosing to love someone, and it's not a job that requires a retirement bonus. I'm actually dying. As per, if you leave me, why should I now have to be paying you money? I get that. And then the last one says, my partner asked me to sign a prenup, even though I had more assets, and I declined because I felt like it was a show of lack of trust. So these are the things that you guys have to say about prenups. If you have your own opinion that is so different or significantly different, or if you even agree with something that anybody in particular has said, please put it down below. I will be right back. Let me finish up as much as I can of this makeup and then come back and actually talk about what I think. Ruby has told me to do a cut crease, and if you know anything about me, you know that I do not really do genge makeup colors. I'm not really a color person, but guess what, we finna do that cut crease, Ruby. I want to just say this. My opinion has changed from the beginning of reading these very informative opinions, because initially I was thinking as well that it was something that is deeply offensive to even ask your partner to sign a prenuptial agreement. To a certain degree, I still stick by that or stand by that, depending on who you ask. But at the same time, I do understand the importance of protection, and I do feel like it would be deeply selfish if you went into a marriage with that kind of with the attitude of oblivion. That's what I'm going to call it, with the attitude of oblivion, thinking that nothing, and especially now that I know that obviously there are different ways, and not different ways, but there are different causes for a prenup. It's not entirely just because you want to keep things separate or should you divorce. I feel like so many things happen in the duration of a marriage, not even concerning divorce or anything like that, but like people's financial situations can change, and people die. You would be remiss to think that if in your absence things will be taken care of the way that you expect. Sometimes even your partner will need some kind of guidance in how to utilize anything that you've left behind. The bottom line of it is, now, how do I feel about prenups? Would I get one? Am I going to get one at the point in time when I am getting married? And the answer is most likely yes. I do like the idea of feeling like I can anchor some kind of protection to my children. I've always been of the opinion that should, God forbid, things don't work out in my chosen marriage, I would not, regardless of what the person has done to me. And I feel like I can say this because I've been in many situations where my principles have been called into question. I have stuck to my guns. So I'm confident enough to say that, should a situation present itself where my partner and I end up not being together, that I would not want to sue them for everything they have. The way that my personality is set up, it would almost be the exact opposite, where I would not want anything to do with them, both financially and otherwise. But I do understand the idea of making sure, because sometimes even just having money as a leverage keeps people in places longer than they need to be. You can be in an abusive relationship now, and your partner has convinced you, the usual stuff. Now you don't need to work, I'll take care of everything, ratata scary pop up. Now, relationship over. You're trying to figure out where your life should start from. You're trying to figure out how to leave the person, and guess what? You can't, because you're literally a dependent. It is important that both of you are being extremely responsible. I know this is not a conversation that a lot of people want to have, but at the same time, I do feel like it's a necessary conversation to have. I'm happy to have had this conversation. I didn't feel like I would ever want to have a conversation like this, but at the end of the day, when opportunities present themselves, sometimes you just have to take the bull by the horns and actually be honest with yourself. And yeah, that is basically what has changed my hold on. Hey babe. So guys, let me know below, after hearing other people's opinions on it and after us going through these people's comments and stuff like that, what do you think? Like, would you get a prenup? Do you think that it's something that is necessary? Do you think that it's like a show of mistrust towards your partner? What is your stance on getting a prenuptial agreement? Also, I hope that you guys really like my makeup, because like, thank you once again to Ruby for encouraging me to do a cut crease. Do not forget to comment and like this video if you liked it, and if you like videos like this. Let me know if you want more videos like this, going through your comments, going through your opinions, letting you guys know my opinions. And also let me know if you want like an actual makeup tutorial, but you have to let me know what you want me to do, because like, I'm not that experimental with makeup anymore, to be completely honest. Like, when you find something that works and you just stick with it, so that's like the mind frame I'm in right now. So let me know if you want me to try out something new, and do not forget that you are sugar, you are spice, and you are bomb as jello fries. Bye guys. Mwah.